Hi guys, BellaDonna Black here, and here's a creepy little story just for you. So, turn off the lights, get comfortable, and let's begin. When I was in my first year at uni, I was a hardcore party girl. No matter how tight money was, if there was booze and fun to be had, I was there. Though the university was only 10 miles from my home, I chose to spend the week living in shared accommodation in the city. A short enough walk from the university. Regardless of study or exams, I'm surprised I passed at all. I partied hard every other weekend, as my mum had always been overprotective where her children were concerned, and still does, the tendency to treat 18-year-old me as though I were still in primary school. She demanded that I take the bus home to spend the weekend with her and my young siblings every second weekend. In those days, we did not get on well, and our screaming matches during my weekends at home often ended in me storming out, hitching a lift back to the city, and then dressing up and heading out on the town with whatever friends were up for some fun. After one such ride, quite close to the end of term, I left in a strap and hitched the lift back to the house I shared with 3 others in the city. I put on my makeup and dressed in my going out clothes and texted my then boyfriend to see if he fancied going clubbing. He lived with his parents across town, but I had a spare key to my place cut for him, so he tended to stay at mine fairly often. There was no answer to my text, so I tried calling him and the phone just rang out. Anyway, I ended up going out with one of my housemates and 2 of her friends. We went to a pub that was very popular with uni crowd, as it usually had live music every weekend, and stayed there for a couple of hours. As my money was running low, I told the girls that I have to make a quick detour to the house before we went on to a club, as I'd left my ATM card there. When I got there, I found my boyfriend in my bed with a girl I did not know. I got very upset, and after she skulked away, we started to argue. He admitted that he'd been letting himself into my place on the weekend that I wasn't home. And then he and the girl had been seeing each other over 3 months. After I got my key back from him and told him that I never again wanted to see him, I headed back out in tears. The girls did their best to console me, but I was too upset to listen. After a skinful of drink, I left the club without telling them, and, as I could not bear to go back to my own place and sleep in that bed, headed out towards home. It was my intention to hitch a lift, as I hadn't enough money left for a cab, and the last bus had left hours ago. It was after 3 in the morning, and I was too drunk and upset to worry about the possible dangers of hitchhiking at that hour. Besides, I'd done it hundreds of times before, but, admittedly, I was always in the company of a friend at those times. I stood in one spot for over an hour, and I had no luck in getting a lift, so I began to walk further out of town. The night air sobered me somewhat, but still not enough to feel any fear. I was far too focused on my boyfriend's betrayal. I finally chose my spot, just below the traffic lights and a filling station, and thumbed every car. There were not too many at that hour that passed. At one stage, I saw a brown, fairly battered looking car pull out of one of the side streets. It sat at the lights for a while. It even remained there for a few moments after they had turned green, though I thought nothing of it at the time. It was an old car after all. It finally turned left, heading off back into the city via a different route. At this stage, I was freezing and desperate to get home to bed. After about 10 minutes, I saw the headlights of a car approaching from the direction in which the brown car had headed. As it drew close, the driver indicated, slowed, and pulled up. As it had neared me, I was surprised to see that it was the same car which I had seen minutes before. I reasoned that the driver must have suffered an attack of conscience, seeing me standing there, and decided to play the good Samaritan by offering me a lift. I opened the passenger door of the car to find that the driver was a slim, geeky-looking guy in his mid-20s to 30. He was wearing glasses, and his hair was brown and collar-length. He looked like the least threatening person in the world. He asked me, really politely, where I was headed. I named the place and he said that unfortunately he was only going 5 miles out the road, but that, if I wanted, he would take me that far. As 5 miles was not too great a distance to walk, I got in the car with him. Throughout the journey, I tried to make conversation, but it was almost impossible, as he was a very quiet type. I started to feel a little uncomfortable and was glad when he finally dropped me off. The road was eerily silent and there was an absence of streetlights, but I was just relieved to be getting out of his car. I thanked him and he drove off down a side road. I breathed a sigh of relief and set off walking. I reasoned that there was nothing sinister about him after all, that it was just a case of social awkwardness on his part. Otherwise, he would not have dropped me off now, would he? Maybe 10-15 minutes later, I heard the sound of a car engine. A car passed me, slowed, and reversed. I realised that it was him again. As he drew level with me, he reached across and opened the passenger door. I was slightly cautious, but still not really afraid. The first thought that struck me was that I'd dropped something in the car. Maybe my purse fell out of my handbag, something like that. And he was returning it to me. He'd said something to me, but I couldn't make it out as he spoke in a mumble. So I leaned in closer. Then out of the blue, he grabbed my arm. "Here's the deal," he said. "Clear as day. I'll bring you all the way home for services rendered." I was stunned beyond belief, and my first reaction was not fear, but outrage. I wrested my arm free of his grip and called him every name under the sun. "Do I look like a fucking prostitute?" was one of the things I screamed at him. Obviously, he wasn't expecting that particular reaction. He shut the door and took off, but not before I had kicked the side of the car for good measure. It was only after he had left that my legs began to shake and the fear took over. What if he came back? This time with a weapon of some sort. Terrified, I walked on. Well, tried to run, really, until I came to the large avenue which led to a minor stately home in the area. The family who lived there never shut the gates. I set up off the avenue, not caring if a member of the family took me for a prowler, and called the police. My terror of the pervert returning was too great. Thankfully, the gardens closest to the avenue could not be seen from the house, as it lies downhill. I found a spot in the shelter of some ornamental bushes and sat there until the sun rose. As soon as it was properly light, I returned to the road, still frightened beyond reason, but feeling slightly braver as the traffic increased. I walked the remainder of the way home. It took me quite a while to tell anyone about what happened that night. After all, it was a consequence of my own stupidity. Hi guys, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below and subscribe to my channel. You can also check out my Facebook page and my Twitter. Both links will be found in the description below.